Welcome back, y'all, to another episode of Spittin' Hoops, where me, myself, Max Auger, and my co-host, Anthony Aguirre, two GOATs with zero professional NBA knowledge, come here and commentate and give hot takes about NBA. So just getting right into it, we have a lot to discuss since our last episode. Obviously, it was a month ago. The real NBA has been pretty boring. We got some people re-signing and stuff, but Twitter has been busy and occupying itself with hot takes, top 10 lists, etc. And so we're here to give the correct opinion. Anthony?
Oh boy. Yeah, man. It's always in the middle of the dead of the NBA offseason when somebody just has to start something about something. So man, we gotta get rolling on some of these takes. I'm excited.
We do have to get rolling. Honestly, I think the best way to start this out would just be going to our ranking other people's top 10 list sections, and we could just go from there. We understand this is obviously just our opinion. And some of these guys have played against some of these guys, but they also haven't played against other guys. So they might be biased, just like we're biased. So I think our opinion might be more valid. So first off, Julius Erving.
Oh boy.
So he dropped the top 10 list. Or actually, let's start with who just dropped the top 10 list that instigated this? Was it Shaq or was it Steph's top 5?
I think Julius Erving dropped his on his own gumption. Steph was the skip. Well, so we got 5 lists, 4 NBA Hall of Fame legends, and then we might not even get to the skip one just because he's got the right guys, but they're not in a good order, whatever. But we got Steph, we got Charles Barkley, we got Shaq, and we got Julius Erving.
Yeah.
Steph had his on video, but he picked his starting 5, and he had an honorable mention in there that he scratched. Then Julius Erving came out with a heater, and then Shaq gave his response. And I'm not sure when Chuck unveiled his.
Yeah, so let's just start with Steph's. It's the quickest one. I think it's probably the one that got the most views in recent time. It's just the top 5 plus an honorable mention, like Anthony said. He's got Magic, MJ, Kobe, Duncan, and Shaq. First off, no LeBron is some shade. I love Steph, but no LeBron is nuts. Like, come on.
Like, bro, what are we talking about? Like, it just, and this is a starting 5 too. Like, this isn't his top 5 of all time per se specifically. But like, what is the point of having MJ and Kobe at the same time? Why not put LeBron in there? Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. But maybe he just doesn't want to get LeBron just now because LeBron's still playing. I can't include him in that list if LeBron's playing. But it's obviously not true. So, and Steph knows that's not true.
I think it's some shade, to be honest. Like, I just straight up think it's some shade. Like, but he didn't pick himself, which, you know, you could argue that at the point guard, either Steph or LeBron could play that point guard position better than Magic in that starting 5. Duncan, I thought Duncan was interesting. Shout out. We love Duncan on this podcast, but I feel like LeBron would be a better point guard than Magic on this team, better power forward than Duncan on this team. Like, if you're taking different iterations of LeBron, so it's a little bit like, dog, what are we doing?
Like bro, like, oh no, baby, what is you doing? Max, funny thing about this list is so what obviously Steph is known for a lot of amazing things, but like, what would we say he's the king of?
3-point shooting.
Okay. And if we look at this list, gotta be honest, not a very big shooting list. He did bring Larry Bird as his small forward, and then he scratched him later in that segment and then said, no, just kidding, Kobe Bryant. So he had him. So it's kind of funny. He's not really linking the best season. I think the best 3-point shooter here was either MJ or Kobe. And both of them were like 33% career 3-point shooters.
Yeah. I mean, I will say Magic, the one season he came back towards the end of his career, he shot really well from 3 that one year. So who's to say that maybe should Magic have came in a later iteration of the NBA that he might be able to shoot a bit more. But yeah, the no 3-point shooting jumps off the page here. Like, Shaq, no shooting. Tim Duncan could stretch the floor, but it was really like for the early 2000s type stretch
Yeah,
floor.
yeah.
Like that was like a very like he always played with like Thiago Splitter or like I don't know, like David Robinson, like obviously David Robinson, but like he always kind of played next to a bigger guy, which I always thought was interesting. But
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like yeah, Duncan was always great with centers. I think they could maybe get away with this with that point that you're making. Like, it's hard to think Magic, MJ, and Kobe if they weren't in this timeline. And they said, hey, you got a year to kind of learn how to get the ropes together. You throw this team together. I'm sure these guys are going to be shooting the three a lot more.
Okay, I agree, but I think also on the other hand, I think there's a chance that outside of these five players that I could make you a team of like the rest of like the players in NBA history and they could beat this team. Like just
Oh, yeah.
off the top of my head, I kind of feel like if you go Steph, LeBron, Bird, Kareem, and then like I don't know.
Hakeem or Bill Russell or like,
Or even like you want to go KD, like maybe you do like Kareem, KD, Bird, and then like LeBron, Steph, like something I don't know, Like I feel like that's why I'm like a little bit like Steph. I kind of feel like I might be a better all-time hypothetical list general manager than you. Like, that's kind of what I was feeling after I saw this video.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Damn. Yeah. So it's not a bad list. It's just a big snub. Big snubberoo for Steph.
Some interesting snubs too. So yeah, moving on. I think this is the most interesting list. Anthony, I think you can agree. It's the Julius Erving list. That was why I mentioned it first. Um, it's Jerry West first. It's Oscar
Well,
Robertson.
this is in no particular order,
Oh,
mind
it's
you.
no particular order. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, Elgin Baylor, Will Chamberlain, Bill Russell, MJ, Kareem, Karl Malone, Magic, Tiny Archibald, no Steph, no LeBron. Um, that's
Um,
this is the old time like take. You know what I'm saying? It's like an old time player. Like I don't think he knows what he's watching. If he even watches the NBA anymore, he's like 80. Like, but bro, Tiny Archibald.
yeah, man, bro. I, I'll. I decided. Hey, if you're gonna talk about Tiny or if we're gonna talk about Tiny Archibald, let me first give him some respect before we revert to this original take, which I agree with you on because it's a tough
Fair.
one.
Yeah.
On one hand, you have Nate Tiny Archibald, played 14 seasons, averaged 19 points a game, 7.5 assists per game. He tore his Achilles sort of near the end of his career. But before that happened, he had 5 seasons above 20 points per game. In 1972-73, he led the league in points and assists per game, 34 and 11, which is crazy to think about. He played the majority of his seasons, I believe, in Kansas City. Um, yeah, Kansas City. And then tore his ACL, went to the Celtics, won a championship in 1981. In that playoffs, he averaged 15 and a half and 6. So he was a pretty good, consistent guy. So shout out to Nate Tenney Archibald. He's a Hall of Famer, 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. So nothing to sniff at. However,
Yeah.
that's a great career, and we should, think about him as a top 50, top 75 guy where he is, but he's not in the top 10.
Yeah. They like he kind of has just like a super traditional like superstar path, like kind of had to come up, played super well, MVP level, like amazing player, right? And then kind of had to come down and then really did the winning while he was an older guy.
Right.
Um yeah, like he's just not a top 10 player. Like it is what it is though. I think the thing is Julius Erving, you could tell on this list between guys like Robertson, West, Baylor, Chamberlain, Russell, Kareem, and like Archibald. It's basically like eight of his 10 guys are really from his era slash era adjacent. And then you have like kind of MJ, then you have like Magic. But yeah.
The player who retired the most recent on this list is Karl Malone in 2004.
Yeah. And Karl Malone. I forgot about that name too. But
He
yeah.
said Dude, he said that he left LeBron and Steph off because they're still active, which is fair. But also, if that's true, where is like Shaq or Tim Duncan or Kobe Bryant?
Yeah, that's I don't know. But
Unless,
and the thing is like Elgin Baylor also, it's like he was a great individual player, but like he didn't do that much winning. Like, like compared to Kobe,
yeah,
like because that's the thing. Like I think I can kind of excuse him for wanting to respect the guys in his era and the guys he played against, but it's also like I hope he just like forgot Kobe and Shaq, and maybe I didn't see like the video or if it was an article or whatever. Like maybe he was just running through the names, but it's like, bro, what? Tiny Archibald? Like I think you can argue. Kawhi's better all time than Tiny Archibald. I guess he's active though, so that's not a good example. Like Stockton,
right.
like why not? Like why not John Stockton?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not Jokic? All right, active again,
Active,
active again.
but like, why not Tony Parker? Why not Manu Ginobili? Why not David Robinson? No, seriously, like,
Yo, Tony Parker though, like that. Come on, Archibald's
okay.
feet was.
All right. Maybe not Tony Parker, but like,
I mean, all time, I guess you would probably put Tony Parker ahead of Tiny Archibald potentially, but
MVP.
but like there is a difference in peak. There is a difference in peak.
Dude, maybe we might have to get into a Nate Archibald, Tony Parker conversation.
Yeah, I'm going against my fellow Frenchman, but Tony Parker was, yeah, okay, but that's the same thing. Like,
Damn.
what language they speak over there? You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm sorry, Belgium.
yeah, Tiny Archibald is insane. Like, why not Bob Pettit?
Why not Bob Pettit? Like, why not Rick Barry?
Oh yeah, but everyone hated Rick Barry, bro. I feel like what?
Why not Bill Walton?
I mean, Bill Walton, you could argue like although Bill Walton's peak was like
so MVP and a Finals MVP, bro.
What, his second year in the league? Like,
yeah, like early on, similar to Tiny Archibald, and then he won a ring with the Celtics too, just later on. That's crazy.
Yeah, actually, a super similar career path.
Yeah, weird.
Except no one has a similar career path to Bill Walton because he was really, really good for like 2 seasons till he got hurt, and then he immediately was like a sixth man, big man, which I feel like we don't see.
Right. He was a really good six man.
He won sixth man of the year, I think, once or twice. But bro, like that's such a 1970s type 1980s type archetype. Like a sixth man big is like never. I don't know. Nowadays, it's like Kevon Looney is like the one example of that. But like he starts anyways. Like that like archetype doesn't exist. I feel like.
Yeah, like Mason Plumlee last year on the Clippers, coming off for Zubats. Bam. Nas Reed.
Oh, but Nas Reed is better than Bill Walton all time though.
Okay, I mean, yeah. Where's Nas Reed? Oh, he's active. He's active.
He's active. Bro, honestly, yeah. I probably, after seeing this list, like Nas Reed's got more all-time credibility than Julius. But dude, I hate to say it, but Julius might just be getting up there, man. He just might be like, he might just be forgetting names. He's like how old is Julius Erving now? He's like 70, 80?
Like 76, dude. He's not that old.
Clock's ticking, you know what I'm saying?
Oh my lord. Julius Erving is 73.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Solid amount.
You still got another decade or two. Like you're chilling, dog. Like
yeah. Just get the list in order before.
I will say Julius Erving, if ABA was legit, he'd be like top 10 player all time potentially.
Oh, bro, we gotta do an ABA segment one before we talk
an
about
ABA podcast.
Yeah.
That's actually an insane idea. We should do like black and white filtered.
Just talk so old timey about it, like Dan Issel with the 3-point shot.
Bang. Anyways, Julius Erving, you're still legit as a basketball player. You're valid there. Your takes about basketball might not be super valid. Take it from us, two mid-20-year-olds with no basketball experience.
None.
Zero. Actually, no, I played middle school. Dude, I was nice in middle school basketball.
Oh,
Like,
really?
dude, because they had a team that was for 5'3" and under, and I was like 5'3" in seventh grade. And I was like Kenneth Fareed, bro. I was like
That's the prototypical second right off the bench big man that we need in the league. Right?
Yes. No, but I was starting by the end of the year. I
Oh,
took a job. Come on.
all right.
What?
In that case, take it. Spin hoops world. Just take it from a guy that never played and a guy that was a dominant 5'3" player in middle school. We know what we're talking about.
I did play AAU for a little bit, but we're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
I was terrible. Oh my God. I was like the guy. Yeah, have you seen the clip of Zion where like the white kid, they send out like this 5'5" white kid who's just like a sacrificial lamb, like
Yeah.
to guard Zion? That was me, bro. Like I was like you're the defensive stopper, dude. You're like, bro, if they go up 15, y'all just throwing me in there to try to stop the best player, and I'm getting cooked. I'm getting cooked. Like it is not happening. Because bro, I was like 5'4", and it's like these like juniors and like I don't know, like not juniors, but I don't even remember what year I played. I think I played like
Seventh grade. Oh no. Oh, AAU.
yeah. And like this kid's like a foot taller than me. They're like, yo, go get him. I was like, me? I was like, what? We did. We had one kid who was nice, but he cared too much about football, so he'd come and he's just jacking up shots. He's like, this dude is shooting. He was like Jordan Clarkson, but he was the tallest guy on the team. So you're just raging.
Oh, that's
You're
brutal.
like get in the paint, dog.
Bro, if you don't get your ass in the paint and start hitting some hook shots and like old timey 1950s floaters.
Bro, it was actually a meme. It was a meme. Well, anyways, that's my basketball qualifications. I put it on my resume still to this day.
Oh,
Yeah.
respect.
Come on, don't play with me. Next list that we have to critique and give our opinion is Shaquille O'Neal. Anthony, he had Magic, Kobe, LeBron, MJ himself, Steph, Duncan, Iverson, Karl Malone, Isaiah Thomas, and then Kareem. It's an interesting. This might be the best one so far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the Steph one's only 5 players. Like
Yeah,
it's, and I feel like even within those 5, there's a lot of omissions.
right. Yeah, I mean this one's good. I'm maybe Karl Malone, bro. Like you're on a couple of lists already back to back, and that's a bit much. So we got to figure out a way to get you off that list. I mean, look, it's not Sunday, but the mailman is not delivering to this podcast. I'll tell you that right now. And so
No, sir.
I don't hate the Isaiah take. I mean, I don't like it, but I'd also put him in top 10. Like sort of, oh no, baby, what is you doing on this? Like where is it? Maybe Hakeem Olajuwon or Larry Bird, but I don't hate the Isaiah take as well. It's an interesting piece.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah's like one of those guys that you can decide to give him a ton of respect historically, or like a ton of disrespect historically, because you can say, oh, like Isaiah, you just popped up in the middle of 2 dynasties. Like you won 2 chips, but you also had Joe Dumars and all these other guys, and you didn't do anything else. You didn't do anything outside of that. Like that's one argument. But then the other side is like, oh, in the middle of basically 2 or 3 other dynasties, like coinciding between the Lakers, Celtics, and Bulls, the Pistons are the ones who rose up and won 2 like back-to-back chips.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like I can't really decide where I have Isaiah Thomas. So if you have him top 10, like I'm not gonna flame you. He's probably like top 25 for me, but like I don't know.
Dude.
Outside of that, I will say it didn't surprise me they had Steph on this list. He always says Steph is his favorite player, and he wishes like that's the one player he wishes he could have ever played with, which is like
very cool.
Respect, major, and he has like consistently said this for like the last like 8 years. Like he's just been like a pro Steph all the time, and to be honest, if you're Shaq, like wouldn't you want the guy who creates the most spacing for you on like the perimeter? Like that's just
easily
makes sense, So
or just dump it off to the big fella and just dunk it like crazy field goal percentage for these two.
Yeah, and And Shaq, like basketball IQ slash passing, a little bit underrated. Like he was almost so like physically like gifted that it didn't let anything else shine. But the game, you could tell the game was slow for him. Does that make sense? Like he
Yeah.
would like he saw the game well. Like he wasn't doing stupid stuff all the
Plenty,
time. Sometimes he
plenty
was.
of like I mean, plenty of guys that were his size or close to his size that just couldn't cut it because they would just play out of control and undisciplined. So yeah, he
Yeah.
definitely had that extra. Dude, I got to say one more thing about Isaiah
Mhm.
is not only did he win 2 chips, they almost won 3 straight,
Mhm.
and they're up 3-2, I think, in the 88 finals. He sprains his ankle and then he scores. He has 25 points that he scores. Like he just turns into God mode against the Lakers. They end up winning the game and he had sprained his ankle, but they play game 7. And I believe what happened, there's a phantom foul call at the end of game 7. And essentially Kareem is going up for a skyhook. And the Lakers are down by like 1 point or something like that, like right towards the end of game 7, and they call the foul, and there was no foul. And so they say that the Pistons should have won that game. There's a lot of like woulda, shoulda, coulda, who knows, and all that. But the Pistons were very, very close to becoming a three-peat in the middle. And then if you have Isaiah Thomas with 3 rings, 2 MVPs, 3 straight, like a three-peat, that's kind of a crazy conversation to have too.
No, definitely. I mean, I really can't flame him that much. At some point, he was like one of the I don't love the idea of like a will to win player, but like as like this 6 foot point guard, he was the guy who was like gonna come in and like he was really what I think CP3 is like a really good comp to
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas. Just CP3, like it just never happened. But like I really think those two guys are super similar in terms of like being really good defensively, having go-to moves, but they're not scoring 25 a game. They understand that's not their win projection. Like that's not what's gonna get them to win a ton of games. It's like I need to play A+ defense, orchestrate the team, keep the team together, and shoot a high percentage. Isaiah Thomas CP3 did the same. Isaiah Thomas did it better, and his career went better than CP3. But like that, I think like it's I really cannot flame Isaiah Thomas at all. Like because he really like was playing against way more talented and qualified players to go win his chips as well. And he was the best player on both those teams. I know Dumars won the other finals MVP, but you know.
Yeah. It's also sad that like he got hurt and then like lost. He was only 28 by the time he won his second chip. Like that's not that old. And then his career really just like he got hurt and his last season he was 32 years old. Thinking about these guys, Steph is 35, KD's 35, LeBron's 30, like it's just different.
I mean, I think also like the whole idea that small point guards tend to break down also like that was really Isaiah Thomas was like example like number one where it's like this guy is just like if he gets
Yeah.
hit too many times he's gonna get hurt. But in a different era of the NBA, maybe he is playing until he's 40. Like in today's game where they're not rewarding players or like not calling like super cheap fouls in the key. Cause I think that's what kills like the small guys is like if they come down in the lane, you get checked by a 7 footer, like pretty good chance you're gonna get hurt. But like the NBA's kind of done away with a lot of that. And who knows, maybe if Isaiah Thomas was around today, he would have played until he was 38. So
Shout out.
yeah. Overall, I think this is a pretty good list. Iverson, Isaiah, and Malone, just not ones I agree with, but yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on, we got Charles, Shaq's little running mate on TNT. Uh, MJ, Oscar Robertson, Will, Kareem. Why'd you put the T up? Sorry.
Little running mate there.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, you said Shaq's little running mate.
Yeah, is that
It is just very endearing.
I
a
used to call it a little zesty?
just a little bit. Dude, did you see that 60-minute segment with Charles Barkley?
I have not. Is it good?
It's really good. Yeah, just check it out. It's on YouTube.
But what's it about?
It's just like him talking about his upbringing. It's like one of those classic 60-minute like short segments that they do. It's just like him growing up, his second career as a broadcaster and all that. He's awesome. And this list is also solid. So you had said Michael Jordan, Oscar Robertson, Wilt, and then Kareem, Bill Russell, Kobe, LeBron, Duncan, Hakeem. Hakeem, shout out Hakeem. First appearance on any of these lists, I think. That's a guy that if we're going to be sprinkling into the top 15, 20 guys to throw into this list, that's a name that should be in there. And then Jerry West again.
Pretty good list. Pretty good list. I mean, the only one I really, really disagree with is like Oscar Robertson. Like, he didn't really win anything outside of getting carried by the best player of that era, Kareem. Getting carried is disrespectful. He was incredible. He was incredible on his own teams. He was incredible on Kareem's team as well. He only got over the hump with Kareem, so that's kind of why I wouldn't have him here. But this is probably the one I disagree with the least as well. I mean, Hakeem, I think both you and I have him like 11 or 12th all time. So it's like pretty good.
It's just the one weird thing is the Showtime Lakers aren't here.
Oh wow. I did not even realize that. No Kareem, no Magic.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, the Kareem's there, but no Magic.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Kareem is okay. Yeah, but yeah, no. Very odd. Yeah.
I mean, maybe because that was kind of his contemporaries, or Charles kind of saw these guys on the back end, like Bird and Magic.
Right, no Bird either.
Yeah, no Bird, no Magic. Maybe it's because he played against those guys on the back end, and he was honestly smacking them around by the end of his career, or by the beginning of his career, because they were so old. Like, so maybe that's why he just perception-wise thinks they were kind of like not as good. I don't know.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is there anybody else that hasn't been like listed on any of these lists that you would add to the conversation of, okay, well, if like Oscar Robertson's going to be on here, or maybe not Tiny Archibald level, because that's kind of, we're going to be pulling deep names, but like in this list, like if we're going to say Karl Malone, we might as well say like, who else would you say can kind of go there?
So first person who jumps off the page to me is, so Hakeem got mentioned, Oscar Robertson got mentioned, Jerry West got mentioned, no KD, like out of anyone. And I know there's clearly a trend against like the current players, to be fair. Like the only guy we've consistently seen is really like LeBron from the current generation.
Right.
But I do feel like there's a little disrespect to KD here. I would honestly say his resume top to bottom is probably better than Oscar Robertson's, like, and I actually don't think those guys are particularly close, to be quite honest with you. Like that's the first one that jumps off the page to me. Obviously, I fuck with KD, think he's good all time. Like I rank him pretty highly, but that's the first guy. I also think Charles himself.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty. I thought Charles could have been well within his own right to rank himself in the top 10, especially if he's ranking guys like West and Oscar Robertson aren't really that far to Charles Barkley in my eyes. So I thought that was interesting as well, because we're seeing a lot of Karl Malone. Why aren't we seeing a lot of Charles Barkley? I think you would find people who watch 90s basketball who would swear down that Charles Barkley was better than Karl Malone. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Especially even in the 80s too, when he played with a couple other guys that were snubbed, like Julius Erving himself, and Moses Malone.
I'm kind of shocked that no one threw Julius some love, because Julius is really well respected, especially from like the Shaq and Charles generation, because a lot of them were inspired by Julius Erving. They saw like young Julius Erving, like MJ talks about this, like young Julius, they saw him and they were like, we want to play like that. So I'm kind of surprised he didn't get more love, because we saw like Iverson get a pick here. And I kind of feel like Julius and Iverson, in terms of like the culture of the NBA, were very defining. So,
yeah. Absolutely. So some interesting, not snubs, but like not listed here.
Yeah. So I don't know. And then we can go over Skip Bayless's list if you care. I don't know.
Nah, I just found it. I threw it in. It's MJ, Magic, Shaq. This is in order. MJ, Magic, Shaq, Kareem, Duncan, Bill Russell, Kobe, Larry Bird, LeBron, Wilt. Maybe we can say this for another time because the order of the list is he does put that order in. It's kind of a heinous order.
Yeah, I mean, but that is pretty much like my top 10. I would put Steph
Yeah.
in there, but
Yeah.
I thought the picks themselves were pretty good. LeBron at 9 is just
Yeah.
it's
It's petty.
yeah. Before we move on, you were mentioning something to me off camera.
Oh, yes. So Bill Simmons had a take recently, and he said Damian Lillard is not the best Blazer in NBA history. He's the third best player in NBA history behind Clyde Drexler and behind Bill Walton. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me, Drexler is just Lillard before Lillard. Like long career in Portland, asked for a trade eventually.
2 finals appearances.
Yeah. So, I think that's like, in my opinion, Drexler is better than Lillard, but, so be it. Walton is like difficult, because Walton, he won a chip and he was an MVP on Portland, right? But I think he literally was there for 2 seasons. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like the question is we're comparing the only ring in franchise history to an extended career of a lot of individual success and talent. And they made the playoffs so many years in a row, iconic playoff moments. They just didn't win a single game past the second round.
I'm tripping heavily though. He played for 4 years there, but he was an all-star for 2. Like those last 2 years of his rookie deal, and then he got hurt. But yeah, it's really difficult. I will say the peak of Bill Walton is way better than the peak of Lillard.
Right.
Right. So
he was in the conversation. He was like considered the best because he just won Finals MVP. They go like 50-10 the next season, and it looks like he's gonna win MVP. Well, he wins MVP, and it looks like he's gonna win Finals MVP again. And then he gets hurt. So obviously, like we can't give a player a what if, but in the moment, like he was just considered so highly.
I'm trying to find a comparison, right? Because I feel like something that popped into my mind is like Dame and Jimmy Butler to me are pretty similar, like in terms of their career paths. Like in terms of their current teams' career paths. They're both kind of fringe top 10 guys. They're never favorites. They always have like semi-good teams around them. Jimmy's done more, obviously. Has been better than Dame, right? But Dame's done it longer than Jimmy in the same place. But then I'm like, okay, would you rather have the career Shaq had on the Miami Heat? Or would you rather have the career Jimmy Butler's had on the Miami Heat? And like Shaq was like, what, second in MVP voting? Like they won a chip.
Well, that is tricky because like Bill Walton was the Finals MVP.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah,
he won a chip, of course, and he averaged like 20 a game in that Finals, but it was Dwayne Wade on that. So that's a good question. I mean, you got to ask the player. I think Jimmy Butler, he's brought 2 teams to the Finals now, and never had a shot against either of those teams just because he was outmatched, out talented. But that's a tough question. I might have to go with Jimmy on that one.
really. But the thing is, like, I feel like Jimmy would tell you he'd rather have Shaq's career.
Probably because he won a ring. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think for those guys, if you're a key contributor on a chip team, you don't care how it happens, But like, then if we're here sitting here and like talking about how good players were and like longevity and stuff, that's where it gets like kind of convoluted. But yeah, it's difficult because also Bill Russell, there's no other Bill Walton, sorry, there's no other example of this career path, so it's like a super hard comparison, and you totally can. If you said he was better than Dame Lillard all time, I respect it. But Dame's like your argument is like stats and longevity, and like they were kind of in the gutter before him. Like it was the back end of the LaMarcus Aldridge days, and like he kind of made them more relevant. But like, did that really matter? Like they weren't even that good at any point, So it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I might have just talked myself into Bill Walton being better than Dame though.
Yes.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Because if you'd rather have Shaq with second best player on a chip team, um, definitely rather have Finals MVP on a chip team.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, and especially I think Walton was also like when he was the best player in the NBA. I think
Right.
like the
Yeah.
season he won a chip. That's why this is actually such an unfortunate like injury in terms of like just
Oh yeah.
the trajectory of the NBA. Like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
Walton was so good, and also Walton was kind of like this new age. Like, I don't want to compare him to like Arvydas Sabonis, for example. Like that might be a little like I don't know. That's like too abstract, but like he was averaging like 5 assists a game.
Yeah, he's a
Like,
great passing big man.
yeah, like I'd almost think in today's game he might be like a Jokic type. And the thing is
Right.
that Bill Walton was also, disgusting defensively. Like I don't know.
Dude,
It's a very interesting case.
he won his ring when he was 24, and then he won MVP when he was 25, and then he got hurt. Like he's think about like those early 80s. He's in the West. He's playing against the Celtics in the finals, maybe against the Sixers. Like he could have won a few.
Dude, basically 4.5 blocks plus steals in his NBA Finals winning year. Like it's
Lord.
like nutty. Like I don't know. It's really disappointing because I actually think like Bill Walton could have really changed a lot in NBA history, and this foot injury like derailed a lot. Um, like I don't know. Like he had these years on the Clippers, like where he's doing nothing on the Clippers, and then magically gets to the Celtics and like is pretty healthy for a year and a half. Like it's such a one of one. Such a one of one career path.
Very fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I think Dame's probably third. You probably talked me into it. I think Drexler's probably one.
Yeah.
Think and then yeah, Drexler, Walton, Dame. Um, but I do think Dame deserves a lot of credit. Like these teams he's played on are horrible. Like in my opinion, like
Yeah.
these.
I mean, and I don't think this is fair to him per se, but the one thing is like 2019, Katie's out. And I mean, I know you're happy about how this went and like it's fine, but like you're up 17 points in 3 straight games, and you're up in the fourth quarter in 4 straight games, and you lose in 4 straight. Like that was like that's the one thing. Maybe that's recency bias. I don't know. Like Bill Walton, like maybe he was like struggle. I'm sure Clyde Drexler, there were definitely times in the finals where he kind of shot himself in the foot against the Pistons, like coming up in the Western Conference. But that's just like a thing that's in my head that like I struggle to shake, and I know you saw it.
Oh, I loved every second of it. It was like the vindication because like there's sides of NBA Twitter who don't watch the NBA, I swear, and they think like Kyrie and Dame are better than like Steph, just off highlights, and it's kind of highlight culture, and like so be it, like whatever. But that was like a nice little like there's just levels, Dame is levels and levels under Steph, and like to be honest, Dame's an amazing player. That's no flaming him. He was probably a top 10 player in the NBA for like 5 to 7 straight years, like it's just, but again, there's just levels. Like, and that's why I think, Drexler over the course of his career was probably he was just on a different level than Dame, you know?
Yeah.
And Walton in that short peak as well, just on another level. Obviously Walton again, interesting case, but yeah. But
Last thing on that, on the Dame Steph thing. Okay. I'm looking at their like stats in comparison to each other. So who do you think scored? Who do you think scored more?
points all time,
Points per game in the Western Conference Finals in 2019.
Steph.
Steph scored 36.5 points per game. Dame 22.
22.
22. Steph shot 47% from the field. For his standards, Not amazing, but fine. 43% from three. Damian Lillard, 37 and 37, respectively. He just completely outplayed him.
Yeah, again, there's just level. And also Dame just isn't that good defensively. And Steph now is a very plus point guard defender. So like, there's just levels. I don't even want, this is like no flame, but this doesn't even bear conversation. That series, I guess the series is like, that series was like the demonstration of that conversation should have never even been in the discourse,
Yeah,
it's true. And yeah, it's just that year was tough though. That year was like as great as that was. Then we, eventually got the injury bug.
Yeah,
Raptors. We definitely win that finals, by the way. With either Clay or KD. I don't even need both of them.
Yes. And you win the finals just as much as the fact that it's 8:48 p.m. right now.
What do you mean?
Like that? Like yes. Like there's no disagreement with you with me on that end. I think you guys win that, no doubt.
Yeah, but that's also then you could say, oh, in 2016, if Kyrie and Caleb were healthy.
No, I can't even. No. This is nothing like that. This is.
I hate that argument so much. That argument hurts me deeply.
The only argument you can make is KD healthy, y'all win that finals.
Period.
I put my house on it. Yeah.
Okay, moving on from hypothetical series that happened about a decade ago, and saying that people are saying on Twitter things. We're gonna move on from that. Let's get into some of the recent moves. We're actually gonna start with my team. We got a center, a big man who could shoot and who could pass, and he's gonna play 20 minutes a game. It's Dario Saric. I love this for the minimum. If we didn't get him, I was pressing the panic button. I think this is a perfect fit. It's like an Otto Porter type guy, and hopefully he plays well. Fingers crossed.
Max, I love you.
What?
But, bro, I'm going to just say this. On one hand, I agree with you fully. I think it's a great pickup. On the other hand, I really hope this is not the barometer by which you are panicking about your Warriors. If Dario Saric is the difference maker here, got to ask some other questions.
No, but this makes sense. I'm still, now when I look at the team, pieces make sense. Certain lineups make sense. Like I feel good about the team, but I'm like, I think Dario. The thing is, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform. And to be honest, he was fantastic in OKC last year. He was shooting 50% from the floor, 40% from three. He only played 20 games, but like he was fantastic for OKC. So like kind of the last iteration that we saw him, I was pretty happy with what I saw. And like, I really the more of the panic thing was like we needed another guy to round out our bench, and we can't really trade for anyone. We don't have money. We needed to sign a minimum guy. And in my opinion, after Dario Saric, the next best guy is like Rudy Gay, and that's like a pretty big drop, in my opinion. And then the next best guy after Rudy Gay is like another big drop. So that's why I was kind of like, we need this guy. And that it was the rumor was there for a while that we had offered him this and he was going to take it if he never got a bigger offer. So I'm glad no one offered him more money. He's a minimum guy, to be honest. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. He gives me some Bielitsa vibes. Obviously, that's the European thing too, but like similar role, more athletic.
Yeah, I think definitely more athletic. I would like to see him if he concentrates on rebounding a ton. If he's really gonna help us. If he's not rebounding, because he has like 3 rebounds a game last year, but that was also barely playing. Like he's playing like 15 minutes. So if he can get up to like 8-9 rebounds per 36 minutes, like he's gonna be fantastic. And then if he stays, because that's kind of the bigger issue, is like the shooting is nice, the playmaking of like, I don't know, he shoots well inside the key, outside the key, but inside the three, outside the three, sorry. But it's like we kind of need you to rebound. Like that's kind of the biggest thing. Space the floor and rebound. That's it.
Sure. Yeah, I hear that. Yeah, it's a good pickup for sure.
Yeah, but you're right. It's not the end all be all. So next up, Paul Reed. This was a super fun deal. I believe it was the Jazz. They offered Paul Reed a 3-year, $23 million contract.
Wait. Oh, the Jazz offered.
Yeah, the Jazz offered, and it was an offer sheet.
Oh, he was an RFA.
Yeah, in the incentives, so it's a 3-year deal for 23 million to B-ball Paul Reed. Sorry, I don't think we said the name yet. So the Jazz offered him a 1-year deal with if the Jazz made it to the second round of the playoffs, it would trigger an extension of another year. And then should that happen again, it triggers an extension for another year. If you're the Jazz, that's basically a 1-year deal. You're not making the second round of the playoffs.
Right.
But the 76ers, should they match that contract, you might be on the hook for 3 years for Paul Reed, who you like, but the setup doesn't necessarily make sense yet with Embiid, etc. And if you're Paul Reed, you're like, sweet, give me the money. So I think this was a masterclass by the Jazz to basically just mess with the Sixers. This was like super lit. It was my favorite offseason move because of that.
That's why don't more teams do that? That's such a good idea.
I honestly did not know that you could like offer sheets, incentives, like contract language that like intricate. I did not know you could include all those on an offer sheet, but you can't.
Is that
Because
new?
I don't think it is actually. I think this has been possible for a long time. But I think no teams, because the thing is like the 76ers might have called their bluff, and now you're the Jazz and you're sitting here with John Collins, B-ball Paul Reed, Markkanen, Walker Kessler, like they've already got so many big men. So like if the Sixers like, okay, we'll let them walk, it's like see ya. But like I don't know.
I think the reason why the Sixers match is a good call. Honestly, I like that move for them. Just because, yeah, I'm with you in terms of they don't fully know what they're doing. However, he's a really good plug and play guy.
Very good.
I like him a lot, and I think he's a really good. Here we go. Great backup, big man off the bench, sixth man. That's what we were talking about before. We got another one, ladies and gentlemen.
There we go. B-ball Paul Reed, Max
Awesome.
Ojay in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And Bill Walton. That's hilarious. Speaking of which, we might get to another one. Isaiah Stewart, 4 years, 60 million.
Dang, bro.
Well, to be honest, the Detroit Pistons seem enamored with James Wiseman. They started him basically every game after he got traded there. He wasn't very good. Actually, one of the worst players in the NBA during that time span. But they go out, they re-sign Isaiah Stewart, who's really good. Big fan of him. Rebounds, plays defense, shoots the three, gets out of the way. You know, like kind of Nas Reed-esque. It is a steep price, and it's a steep price for a team that's developing, to be honest. But I'm okay with it. Now they kind of have too many big men between Duran, Wiseman, and Isaiah Stewart. But I kind of think they're gonna waive Wiseman in a few weeks or a few months.
Yeah, I mean, it's always worth taking a flyer on a number 2 guy. Just see what they can do. It is a bit of a heavy number. I think is he worth more than Grant Williams? I don't know. But
you could argue. I think you very much could argue that he is better. He is worth more than Grant Williams. That might be an insane take, but he's also very young. He's also like he's getting better. So I think that's where
that kind of justifies the contract then, I guess, right?
Yeah, like I don't know. He's 22.
Yeah.
Like this is like a legit 22-year-old who can
hold on. Grant Williams is pretty young too.
Yeah, but he's not. Grant Williams not 22, is he? He's like 25, 26, 24?
He's 24.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but all I'm saying is Isaiah Stewart has shot basically 33% from three, which isn't amazing, but that's a floor spacing number. And last year he actually shot 4 threes a game. So it's like it's not great, but he's spreading the floor and he shoots well from the free throw, which is pretty unique for a guy. Like he's shooting like 75, 77% from the free throw, which is all to have, right? Last year in terms of like rebounds, like eight rebounds a game. I think the year before that, he was like 9 rebounds a game. And then he scoring in the double digits like I don't know. I would like to see the field goal percentage number go up. Like it's like 45%, which is never great for a center. But he's kind of like he's almost like he's like a swing man playing the center position on defense, if that makes any sense. Because he's like such a floor spacer. Like he's
Yeah.
not Isaiah Stewart's not like I don't know, catching the ball in the post or cutting off him. He's like giving the ball behind the back. Like no, like that's not Isaiah Stewart's game, right? But I don't know. I think he's really good.
I mean, if anybody that charges at LeBron with 35 people between them is
Hilarious.
getting it
All time meme.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I mean, I don't know where that came from, but like he could do that if he's, putting up 10 and 10 on my team,
Exactly. Give me them fantasy numbers.
Yeah. him and Draymond would be a problem on the same team.
Oh, bro, man, y'all winning 4 straight.
Yeah. Well, they're both getting suspended along the way, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I fight each other too. Next up, so we got the news of Jaylen Brown re-signing that biggest contract in NBA history, biggest contract in NBA today. Originally, sorry, Jesus Christ. Originally, it was reported to be $308 million. Actually, with the new salary cap projections, it's going to end up being probably around $290 million because max contracts are based off of a percentage of the salary cap. And some of the salary cap projections for the next few years are looking like they're going to be a bit lower. So he'll still take up the same percentage of the salary cap, but he will not see as much money as he originally thought potentially. So with that, I think Celtics had to do it. He had to do it. And here we are. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, here we are. It's a mixed feelings kind of thought. He's still young, right? He's 26, 27. So I don't think he's gonna get any worse. He's a really hard worker. I think he did get some unfortunate injury, freak accident stuff going on right before with his hand. But I mean, he just didn't look great. And this is 2 straight seasons of, high level basketball where he's turning the ball over a lot. And he doesn't feel as dependable to be consistently the second best player on a chip team at the moment. Not saying that he can't be. But that being said, I'm old enough to remember when Mike Conley got the biggest contract in NBA history. So, and that seemed crazy then. So, I think this is just how it goes with he just happened to be the first guy in line for this type of contract. That's why it's happening.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like everyone's gonna overreact and say, "Oh, this is a crazy contract." Oh my god, it's like there are some contracts in the next 2 years that are gonna get signed. Like between like Towns is gonna get an extension. Like if he gets the super max extension, like we're gonna talk some crazy numbers for a guy who really hasn't done anything. Like Jaylen Brown's been to like what 4 Eastern Conference Finals. Like he's fine. He earned this. He deserved it. And the Celtics had to do it. I mean, if he was threatening to walk at all, like that's just a mess for your organization. Like it's a mess for the team. Who are you going to trade Jaylen for right now? Also, like, you sign the contract, you deal with the consequences later. And honestly, I don't think there's going to be consequences. I think he's going to be really good, like he has been. So, I don't know.
I actually have a hot take.
Hit us with it.
So I could see Derek White being the second most impactful player on the Celtics next season.
Okay.
To Tatum. Not going to say best, but I will say it in the same way where I thought Chris Paul was a more impactful player than MVP Harden against the Warriors. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
That's interesting. I think that's a lot of Jaylen Brown disrespect, to be honest. For a guy that we had conversations and you wanted to put him in the top 10 in the NBA at certain points this season,
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, it's as much maybe disrespect for Jaylen Brown, maybe, but a lot of it is also respect for where I'm coming at with Derek White. Because
how good do you think Derek White is?
I mean, I could see him averaging 19, 6, and being an elite wing defender and backcourt defender. And like, again, like, not saying he's the second best player. He's probably not going to average more points than Jaylen Brown next season. But I do think that there's a certain level of, he's young. I feel like he's really coming into his own. I got a good feeling about him, man. That's the thing, is I just have a very, very good feeling about it. This is a lot more about, I'm really, really high on Derek White than I am like low on Jaylen Brown per se. But I mean, he just played really, really well in the playoffs. He was somebody I trusted when he had the ball in his hands, and I didn't really trust Jaylen Brown to have the ball in his hands, if that makes sense. So,
I think that's fair. I do think one of the issues with this team is just you have Tatum, you have Brown. That's like a redundant skill set, to be honest. So Brown's always going to be in a tough spot given the team composition, right? Like, and I think that's like an issue. They have, like, in my opinion, they both are such similar players, in my opinion.
If they played a little bit better, then we wouldn't be having that kind of conversation, though.
Yeah, but I think the responsibility of that's on both players. But I also understand that it must be difficult. Like that, because we're seeing this, like these two wing type, like, because Jaylen is really like a small forward. He's not a shooting guard, like, in my opinion. Like, yeah, he's a bit bigger. Like defensively, he's also I think he's pretty good defensively, obviously. Like, it's not a LeBron Wade thing where Wade's like a short guard. Like, yeah, it's really like more of like a Kawhi Paul George thing. And right, honestly, we've never really seen stuff like that succeed outside of arguably LeBron and Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen. So, I just think it's a very difficult team composition. I think Derek White's really good. I am still like in shock when I saw him in game 7, like take over the game for like 10 minutes. Like, he actually looked like D-Rose for like prime D-Rose for like, I think it was the second quarter when he went on that run. I think he's fantastic. I think Jaylen Brown's so much better. And I think Jaylen Brown is also just, I think he'll be even better next year. Like, he's 26. Like, I just think he's going to keep progressing, and Derek White's going to keep progressing too. Like, I just think y'all's team's going to get better, probably.
I feel like this is like one of those like Jimmy Butler type things where it's like he goes supersonic in the playoffs, right? So like what you just said about Derek White looking like prime D Rose for that stretch, if we had Jaylen Brown looking like his most elite version of himself, we probably tie that game and like make it a close game kind of thing, right? Like with Derek White, that's not really happening because he's not nearly as talented as Jaylen Brown is. So my thing is more that we don't see that enough from Jaylen Brown. And that is what I'm hoping to see more of, which is why I'm saying the second most impactful player could be a Derek White, who is going to be a valiant player when he's on and going wild. And he's the best player on your team. But like, we saw what the best player on your team was with Derek White. It was kind of, they're still down 10 versus Jaylen Brown being the best player on your team when he's at that elite level. He's probably closing that lead, like I've seen him do. But
let's give Tatum some responsibility here too. Like, I feel like Tatum.
Yeah. I mean,
like, this is the thing. Like, that's why I feel like this is tough, because I feel like Jaylen Brown's kind of put in this horrible spot where, like, since he's worse than Tatum, he's never going to get like the cred. And then Tatum's never going to get the responsibility. When I honestly think kind of their season performance as a whole, like, as good as Tatum was, you almost like, I think he's top 6. Like, I think he's better than KD, right? But like, now that the season is over, it's tough to, like, I don't know if I'd rather have Devin Booker or KD or Jason Tatum, which is like, I just saw Devin Booker put up 35 for a whole playoffs off crazy splits, and he was actually playing defense. It's like, this iteration of Devin Booker is like incredible, So like, that's the thing. I think Jaylen gets put in a really tough spot, but I don't hate the take.
Fair enough. Talk about them Celtics soon enough.
We will talk about them Celtics soon enough. Touching on another action, Ayo Dosunmu re-signs with the Bulls. I just want to touch on this. Kind of thought it was interesting. They signed Javon Carter. They got Dosunmu. I think they still have Kobe White. They're kind of just mix and matching that point guard spot, and they didn't blow it up. Ayo is someone who I could see moving teams because I think he's really good and he's really underpaid. and the Bulls they might find him to be expendable. So he's just a name to keep an eye out in the next few years. I think he could pop up on a contender and like really do some damage. So I just want to touch on that. 3 years, 21 million, also cheap contract.
Yeah. Or like maybe if like if Anthony Black on the Magic is able to kind of get himself going there, and you got Markelle Fultz, you could throw him into like kind of a 3-man point guard thing, and then you're playing with Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., who you should have been playing with in the Chicago Bulls franchise.
Yes.
But you fumbled the bag, and now you're stuck with all these guys in their mid-late 30s who they're not going to go anywhere. So nice contract. Don't know what the heck they're doing. Congrats to the Bulls for making these really great, really small contracts that a championship contender team is trying to make. Great. Congratulations. Flippable contract.
It's honestly kind of annoying. They kind of just robbed a good team of like potential talent. Like I would love to see Io on a good team, not a team that's going to finish between the 12th spot and the 6th spot, and they will get first rounded no matter what. Unless Lonzo literally like finds a genie who magically snaps his fingers and fixes his knees, and like then we could like have a conversation then. Like, I don't know. I will say that's the painful part of this whole thing is that like Lonzo makes so much sense on this team, and the only time he played, they're fantastic. And so, yeah.
Oh, it's a shame, dude. They were completely reliant on that kind of hope. And so it's a real shame kind of what's happening with Lonzo, because that was the real like high point for what that team could maybe do.
Yeah. But I don't know. Another contract, I'm actually going to skip up to this. Josh Hart rumored to be signing a 4-year, $75 million deal. So if you remember correctly, he opted into his deal at the beginning of the offseason, which was a lower number than we expected. And then now he's getting that extension. This basically turns his contract into like 5 years, $100 million. Which is on par with like Duncan Robinson's contract. So I'm kind of like, good job by the Knicks. I think Josh Hart is going to be really good and really tradable should you ever want to trade him. So
yeah, it's a great contract. It's a great move. The Knicks continue to make good moves that are pretty sound, and this is how you slowly build a team that could maybe compete.
Absolutely. And like they don't have the superstar yet, but
yeah,
you do what you can outside of that. Like, yeah. So be it.
It's what the Clippers did to attract some guys, what the Nets did to attract some guys. Didn't work out, but that's kind of like what they did.
Yeah, you got, and maybe Jaylen Brunson becomes like one of those guys. Maybe, RJ Barrett does, like, I don't think so, but like, it's totally possible. And you have to like operate thinking they will,
Yeah.
So yeah, good job by them. A little bit more somber thing is, over the last week, LeBron James' son, he collapsed, in the middle of a UCLA practice. Obviously one of the more highly touted prospects, and honestly seems like a great kid, does a lot of live streaming, like seems like a genuinely great guy. Pretty scary situation. He is okay. He was out of the hospital, I believe. It doesn't seem like any lingering health effects are going to come from this, but it's a pretty scary situation.
Yeah, man. Just glad he's okay. Love the video that LeBron posted of him playing the piano. A man of many talents. So, it's cool. Hopefully, obviously, first and foremost, hopefully he's all right. And then secondly, hopefully he's able to, get his career extended. We've seen a few guys who've dealt with various heart conditions, some who it didn't really work out well. Thinking LaMarcus Aldridge, thinking Chris Bosh, and then some other guys who, like Jeff Green, who had early career heart stuff, and he was able to have a successful career. So I really hope we get to see Bronny play on a court, because he's looking like he's going to be a good, serviceable NBA player.
Yeah, no, and there was a moment in time everyone was hating on him too. They're like, "Oh, he's not going to be good." I was like, dude, he's literally on the best high school team in the country, getting minutes as a freshman. Like, he was like, Zaire Wade's whole high school career got derailed because Bronny pulled up and stole all his minutes, like as a freshman, So like, I don't know. It was like people have been hating on him for a long time. I think the hate really died down, and then this happened, which is unfortunate because I'd love to see him kind of move with that momentum. Hopefully we see him on a basketball court soon, but most importantly, like hopefully he's okay in the long term.
Yeah, man. Oh, most definitely. Oh, yeah.
Moving on. To be honest, Anthony, I kind of talked about everything that I want to talk about. I don't know if you have any big things that stand out to you that you want to talk about still.
Yeah, I'll give you a little something. You see the Jeff T podcast or clip where he's talking about Harden, Dwayne Wade?
No, I actually haven't seen that.
Yeah, he said that Harden for him is above D Wade all time.
Oh yes, actually I did see this. I did see this. Yeah. I just like no. I, I don't know, man. Like we weren't watching the same. We don't watch the same basketball, I guess. Like D Wade offensively at his peak was probably a little bit worse than Harden at his peak, but Harden had a team playing anti basketball to make him look that good at his peak. And then like defensively, there's just no comparison, right? Like,
Right.
and then also in terms of winning the NBA championship, there's no comparison.
Yeah.
But Harden was that good offensively that it's not a terrible take.
Yeah. I'd written down that his take is fine with me. Like, if you're gonna say that, okay. Like, if we want to go into a career thing, I might just be like, bro, like, what are we talking about? We're talking about like cultural influence. Sure, maybe like world, or at least how basketball tends to be played. Harden, I definitely think, had a big impact on like isolation, dribbling, step back, where D Wade necessarily didn't have that kind of like altering the basketball landscape. But like, bro, Jeff Teague, you want Harden at his prime, and I have to live with Dwayne Wade at his prime? Okay, that's fine. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm thinking about it more. I just think Dwayne Wade was a better player, and you're ignoring like a whole lot of winning. Like I think you could really argue like the peak of Dwayne Wade was like a better player than James Harden, and like Harden has not been a part of like he got second rounded. He was on the Nets; they were pretty good, but it's like he hasn't really been on like a top tier contender in a few years now. Like. And he had a really big prime. So it's coming up that he was going to slow down, but
yeah,
it's just not for me. That take's not for me.
Yeah.
It's like and Jeff T played against Harden, so so be it. But no, I don't know.
It's not a tiny Archibald take, but it's
It's like it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like it almost like bothers me that he thinks that. If that makes any sense. Because I could see how like if you used one line of reasoning and you're like offensive production and you're like that's like my line of reasoning, you can say James Harden, but like we're just gonna ignore so much other stuff.
Yeah. Like yeah. So
chips, MVPs. No, Harden had
an MVP. D Wade did not have an MVP.
Oh, he didn't. You're right. Okay, sorry. Chips and finals MVPs, and then chips and then chips. All defensive teams.
Yeah, 4 to Harden's -0.
Culturally, Wade to Miami. Wade owns that city.
Yeah.
We had a year-long goodbye tour for Dwayne Wade after he left and played for 2 other teams for like 3 years. Like he left, played for the Bulls for 2 years, played for the Cleveland. They traded him back to Miami, and they like he ended the season with Miami, and then he played another season just purely with the intention of like doing like a goodbye tour, and it was totally accepted. It like no one was even like this is too much. Everyone's like, yeah, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
So
it's probably gonna be Dwayne Wade there.
It's got to be Wade. That bothers me. I will say, side note, Jeff Teague podcast, sensational.
So funny.
So funny. It is so great to see like a role player be willing to degrade himself and tell funny stories. Like, and then like the fact that he was in the room with some psychotic players, like he was there at the Jimmy Butler practice. Like he played with the Hawks on that team that won like 60 games, and then LeBron just like trashed him. Like, like I don't know. He got trashed by LeBron for years and years there. Like, I don't know, super entertaining guy. I love their podcast.
Great.
But yeah, with that, I got nothing else. Anthony, what about you?
Pretty solid amount of time spent talking about basketball for nothing to talk about basketball.
Yeah, a lot of time. Maybe too long.
Maybe not enough. Who knows?
I guess we'll find out by how quickly we post another podcast.
And until then, we'll be out here chilling, spitting some hoops.
Yes, sir.
Got it.